Agarwal. I'm affiliated I'm working with CDOT as a scientist, and for this particular talk, it's my self-affiliation. There are lots of work which I will be deriving from what has been done in WBA, that is Wireless Broadband Alliance. So this particular talk is basically based on one of the white paper which we have released in September 2024, which is WBA OpenRoaming Introduction Guide. So I happen to be the chief editor of that paper, so I am going to take lots of reference from there. So the topic of my talk is public Wi-Fi architecture. So we have been hearing a lot with respect to what is happening inside the home with respect to FTTH, right? So we'll be talking something which is happening outside the home, more in the public places. So agenda of the talk is we will discuss about Wi-Fi user onboarding evolution, that how users are being onboarded specifically in the public setting, about captive portal, Passpoint, OpenRoaming. Then we are going to talk about PM WANI, which is Prime Minister's Wi-Fi Access Network Interface framework, which is being implemented in India for the public Wi-Fi program. And then we will also look at possible harmonization between PM WANI and OpenRoaming. That is the main topic for today's discussion. And this is the white paper which has been published, so I highly recommend all to have a look at this particular white paper, specifically talking about OpenRoaming. So so if we see at Wi-Fi user onboarding evolution, what I'm trying to say is that how user really connect to the Wi-Fi network, right? So within home, we know the most of the time we connect using a password, and once we connect using a password, then on whenever we come to that particular network, it will reconnect automatically. In the public setting, up to 2012, major onboarding procedure is through captive portal. Probably in most of the developed countries, but still this particular captive portal onboarding still continues if we look at India. Apart from that, 2012 to 2020, the onboarding in the cellular network especially started with SIM authentication. If we see our Wi-Fi calling facility, what we have in our mobile phone, that is based on SIM-based authentication. And then there was also introduction of Passpoint technology by Wi-Fi Alliance, looking at some of the challenges which are available in captive portal based onboarding. And now 2020 onward, we are seeing OpenRoaming, which is basically built over Passpoint technology, but at the same time it helps take care of certain scalability challenges of Passpoint as well as create a business case. So when we see captive portal based onboarding, so captive portal based onboardings are generally supported in most of the devices, right? But if you see Passpoint and OpenRoaming based onboarding, your device need to be supported with Passpoint technology. So this is where what we have to see is whenever the new technology is being deployed, there is also impact of that on the user devices. So at the same time, user devices also need to support that particular technology so that the matching happens. So if we see at the captive portal, and most of us are familiar with captive portal, whenever we go to some public location, if you click on the SSID, if it is an open SSID, you just get a splash space, and on that you may have to put your mobile number and get an OTP and authenticate and able to access the internet. Or some places you may have already received some username password which you need to enter, and you will be able to onboard. If you go to your airports in India, or if you go to railway stations or any other places, even at hospitals or other places where Wi-Fi has been installed, predominantly the onboarding procedure is captive portal based procedure. If you see this down, so this has been taken from one of the WBA white paper called Captive Portal Onboarding Guideline. So this actually summarizes the complete captive portal flow. that how exactly captive portal connection happens. When user connects, after that it identifies whether your access network is, behind a captive portal. And after analyzing it, you may see that either the captive portal page pops up on its own, or you have to do certain intervention to be able to get that particular captive portal page. And after that, if there is an internet, user will be connected to the internet after entering certain, authentication credential. And then if internet is not there, you may say that, internet is not available in this particular connectivity. Now, recently in 2020, there was, need to, make this particular captive portal based onboarding standardized, because this captive portal implementation is, though it works on all the devices what we have and in most of the networks, but this is still not a very standard way of implementation. So industry felt the need, and they started with a project called CapPort with these RFCs, which has been already released, which is a standard way of identifying whether the network is behind a captive portal and how to access that particular captive portal page to perform certain actions. But most of the devices which are available or which are being deployed, currently we are not seeing CapPort being deployed, but over a period of time we'll find this CapPort as a standard way of deployment for the captive portal detections, and then we can onboard the network through that particular standard way of captive portal detections and onboarding. Now, as we discussed, the first one was captive portal. Then we wanted to discuss what is this particular pass point, why the pass point was really required, and what is the status of this particular pass point in current deployment scenarios. So this particular pass point technology is actually based on 11U, 802.11u standard, which actually provides certain extra information to the end device, saying that whether this particular network has capability to interwork and able to provide you the internet service from certain service provider. So if you see the frame, if you capture the frame, beacon frame, if the network supports 11U, whose commercial name is Hotspot 2.0, and later now it has been branded as Passpoint. So you will find these 4 extra capability in the beacon frame, which talks about whether this network support 11U through the extended capability. I have marked all as red here, which are important. Then the interworking, which shows whether it is connected to certain internet. Then it will also have HSI ID. Then it will also tell what is the advertisement protocol which the client device can use to get the extra information from the access network using a protocol called ANQP, that is Access Network Query Protocol. And then it also provides this particular network has agreement with which all provider on which you will be able to get the access. And if there are more than one provider which is providing access, there will be certain priority that which network this particular device is going to connect. So based on these, extra attribute available in the beacon, we will be able to build an automated onboarding procedure. If you see, captive portal onboarding procedure was still manual, where you have to enter certain credential on the captive portal page to onboard. Here, what we are trying to do is that particular process we want to automate. And for that 11U protocol is important, and on which Wi-Fi Alliance has built the Passpoint program. So if you see Passpoint network, if you go to any of the Wi-Fi Alliance document on Passpoint deployment, you will find these 2 type of deployment. One would be using SIM credential to connect to the cellular network, where these all components will come into the picture. The important part is the access point and the ANQP server, which may reside on access point network itself, or it could be separate. And using your SIM credential, you will be able to onboard the network supported by a cellular network. If it is non-cellular network, then what will happen is there will be only home AAA server, and there will be no cellular network home HLR, and you will be able to onboard using other EAP authentication methods like TLS, TTLS, EAP, PAP, and others, right? So how the procedure works, Device, detects the HS 2.0 indication in AP beacon. We discuss about this AP beacon. If it finds that it supports, HS 2.0, which is 11U, then device perform, additional queries using ANQP to find out what are the roaming consortium which are being supported in that particular network. After that, device will have a profile on its pre-configured, and we will find out how that gets configured, but we assume that the credential or the profile for that particular network is already configured on end user device. So it is going to, compare if the profile matches with the RCOI which is being, broadcasted by this particular access point, then it will perform, authentication using 821.x, and then will be able to connect to that network. So here what has happened is, earlier there was a captive portal detection, captive portal display on your device, then you are supposed to have the credential with you, you have to manually enter it, and then after that you have to onboard. Here that particular procedure has been automated. That means whenever you will go to a network, and if that network is supported with Passpoint, and if you have the corresponding profile on your device, you don't really need to do anything. It is more like a cellular experience what you are going to get, right? Like what happens in the cellular roaming, right? You go from here to others. Now we don't have roaming, but at least in BSNL still you will get, roaming between MTNL and BSNL. There you will find you really don't have to do anything. You will be able to connect. So with this, basics, and also we'll just understand that how mobile device actually does it. That particular procedure is also pretty standardized. These all details, whatever we have discussed, right? The detail number 3, where you have a profile, that particular actually profile is going to be saved in the mobile device in a very standard format called PPS-MO. This is the particular object which is available on your device on which you are going to save all your Wi-Fi credentials. And there are servers which are available which you can host, and you will be able to download the profile on your device and save it. Once you save it, whenever you go to a network where this particular profile matches, you will be automatically onboarded. So this particular process is also standardized. Passpoint procedure is also standardized, and through this you will be able to achieve something called automated network access. And this is a very important requirement whenever we go to a public places, right? You don't want that hassle of, connecting every time, or you have to enter your mobile number and get the OTP every time. So this is what it is actually solving. And then it is also enabling multiple other use cases, like if you want to, offload your data to a mobile network, this particular, Passpoint is going to help. So the basic, technology in Passpoint, as we discussed, is actually 11U, ANQP. Then there is an authentication, and you can use WPA2 or WPA3 now for the, authenticating with the access network. And there is a EAP method, extensible authentication protocol is what is going to be used to, exchange your credential with a authentication server, which is a AAA. So this particular Passpoint technology actually came somewhere in 2012, and there are 3, releases what we can see as part of the Passpoint technology. One is the release 1, which was the basic one, which support 11U and the ANQP that does your work. Then the question arises, what I told was the profile of that particular operator is already saved on your device, right? So how that particular profile will get saved on your device? There should be certain mechanism to be able to create a profile and get that particular profile saved on your device, and through this PPS-MO that go and sit on your mobile phone. That particular thing was not standardized. So in release 2, they have brought something called online sign-up unit, which was supposed to, ease out this particular thing, but that turned out to be a disaster. And in 2019, Wi-Fi Alliance has discontinued OSU because it was a very, cumbersome process. Though it was brought into, ease, but it has become a very cumbersome process, and that has been discontinued. And release 3, what they also felt, in fact, just now I was talking with a few folks, that in this particular process, there was certain advantage with captive portal, right? The brand engagement, the service provider who is giving the service was able to engage with the end user for multiple purposes. There was a brand engagement. But with this automated, connectivity on pass point, that brand engagement has gone away, right? So that monetization opportunity for the operator has been lacking. So what has been done is release 3, they have again brought in this user engagement opportunity along with pass point. That means user will get automated connected, but at the same time, there could be policy to bring this splash page to the end user to display something, right? Maybe if you want to do it here, Wi-Fi Knowledge Summit is being organized here and those information. Now you will not get if it's just a pass point, right? So these are some of the improvement what has happened, but the adoption of this particular technology needed both on the access network as well as on the end user device, which is very low. As you see, I have taken the data from some of the sources where you see R1 is available in the devices. Device problem has been solved. Most of the devices come with R1. But R2 and R3 are still something which is, R2 is really not required, but R3 going forward, we expect that user engagement will increase and that, deployment will happen. So we understood captive portal, we understood pass point, but there are certain challenges which are associated with pass point, right? As with every technology, there are certain challenges which will be associated. So one misconception what we found is that OpenRoaming and pass point are different technology. No. OpenRoaming has been built over pass point, and in subsequent slide we'll see that how OpenRoaming really works. But the major challenge with the pass point, if you see, was, there was for every operator who want to provide the service on that same access point, you need to configure his RCOI on the device. That particular configuration is an overhead for the operator to manage. At the same time, since the number of RCOI, that is your roaming consortium identity, increases, the mobile device has to make multiple ANQP query to be able to really identify what that particular network support, and that will, increase some delay. At the same time, you have to manage, one-to-one, agreement between, let's suppose this is one hotspot and 4 operators want to, support their user on that particular hotspot. This particular agreement has to be made one-to-one, which is actually, not very, good for the business. Business wants that things should be smooth. There should not be so much of complexity to manage these many agreements. The user experience should be good, and they should be having a very less overhead to configure their network. Let's suppose tomorrow the operator adds one more service provider to give the service on the hotspot. He has to do the whole configuration again, right? So that is where OpenRoaming has been brought in. So OpenRoaming is a business solution built over pass point to scale the network, right? You are going to have, maybe hundreds and thousands of agreements, and you want to, scale your network with a very ease. So that's where the OpenRoaming comes into the picture. So what is OpenRoaming? There are 2 images which I am showing here. OpenRoaming is basically a federation. This is a federation where you can have multiple identity provider and multiple access network provider. If you want to understand it, let's suppose if you go to an airport, what you do there, you have, access network being deployed by the airport owner. Maybe I think what GMK or someone is, deploying that particular Wi-Fi. But when you want to, onboard that particular Wi-Fi, you have to give certain mobile number, right? Your own mobile number. That particular mobile number is your identity, which is being provided by operator, right? That identity is being provided by operator, and then you have an access network provided by airport. So that identity provider and access network provider are still 2 different entities which are there, right? In this particular OpenRoaming federation, you can have n number of identity provider. You can have your airlines, royalty point as your identity. You can have your operator mobile number as an identity. You can have maybe your barista royalty number as your identity. Anything can be an identity, and anyone can be an access network provider on your right-hand side. If these 2 has an agreement, if barista says that I have an agreement with Bangalore airport to serve my user, these user will be served on that particular network, and that is precisely what OpenRoaming is enabling. It is enabling multiple identity provider to access multiple access network provider. So there is a clear bifurcation between identity provider and access network provider, and the communication in between them in a standard format will be taken care by Ecosystem Policy Authority, which is WBA, Wireless Broadband Alliance. And then on the top, if you see, WBA already have a framework called RICS, which enables the complete roaming functionality, where you need to identify the location, you need to do the billing, you need to do an interconnection between identity provider and access network provider. So OpenRoaming actually leverage the RICS framework to create a business model. So till now, what we have discussed is there was a manual intervention on captive portal, no manual intervention required in Passpoint, but still we know some branding is required, so they introduce some feature. Another is earlier only one entity used to provide the complete service and the network. Here now identity provider could be someone else, access network provider could be someone else, and business will drive their agreement, right? So OpenRoaming actually contains these three major blocks. One is network automation component, which we discussed through 11U, and then the Passpoint technology using RCOI. Cloud federation layer. Now, basically, as the number of entities are going to increase in the federation, thousands of identity providers, thousands of access network providers, how to manage their communication, right? That communication, if we manage as a static communication, the network will not be able to scale. So there they have brought up this dynamic peer discovery. That means when a user connects to access network provider, access network will be able to identify where the identity provider authentication server is kept, and he will be able to authenticate with that particular server. Now, no, you really don't need the static routing in your database saying that, okay, if this guy has come, then I have to go to there, or if this guy has come, I have to go to there. That can be done using your DPD. And the security layer has been added. Right now, most of the AAA communication from the access network happens on most probably 1812 or 1813 UDP packet. Since these are the closed network, securities are being maintained by their periphery network. But if it's a public network, where data has to be exchanged from one to another boundary, they have brought in RADSEC, which was already there, but they have brought in RADSEC. And then for user authentication, they have brought in this PKI infrastructure so that the authentication happens on the certificate. So how much time I have? 5 minutes. So I'll quickly go. So I think this build up the concept that how the public access happens. There are RCOI which has been standardized in INA and IEEE. And this is the open roaming Passpoint architecture. End user devices has to have profile. Access network will be able to dynamically discover the IDPs and servers to authenticate the user and give the service. If you see 5, user engagement feature using CapPort, DSCP, I think option 114, through which you will be able to engage with the user in the Passpoint environment. And there are, onboarding, how you will get the profile. Earlier we talked there was a OSU, which didn't really work out. They have brought in offline profile. You can go to website, you can create a profile, install it, you go to a Wi-Fi network, you can connect it. So those both, basically portal-based profile management, as well as SDK, app-based profile management has been introduced. So this is the deployment graph. I'm pretty sure that in some days we are going to see many hotspots in India. So with that background, now we'll just quickly talk about the Indian initiative of this public Wi-Fi program called PM Wani. These few slides I've added now. This particular program, aimed at providing a very high-speed broadband at a very, very low cost to the end user, at the same time create millions of entrepreneurs who will be able to resell the data and make some money out of it. So it is more of a public welfare program which is being introduced by Government of India, leveraging the public Wi-Fi ecosystem. This is the technical framework. If we compare with the OpenRoaming, you have multiple identity providers which are called application provider. You have multiple access network provider called PDOA, and you have a centralized authority called central registry. So if you see this particular framework thought in 2017, And open roaming really started somewhere in 2020. We thought really well in 2017 itself that how the federated ecosystem of public Wi-Fi can coexist by taking reference from UPI and other achievement what India has did. And there is a clear alignment between PM WANI. There is a clear alignment between PM WANI and open roaming. You see, there is a WBA as an ecosystem policy authority. WANI registry is the authority in India. PDOAs are ecosystem broker. You have AP hotspot, which is PDOs, and you have identity provider, which is an application provider. So there is a clear alignment in this particular, open roaming and PM WANI. So now we want to see that how we can leverage PM WANI best practices for the betterment of PM WANI framework. So this is the similar, comparison. My analysis shows that in WANI there is no ecosystem broker, and this can be leveraged to integrate PM WANI framework into the open roaming framework. So I'll just go, these are some of the challenges which we see exist in PM WANI. So, and the proposed solution is either fix those challenges within the given framework or adopt a standard captive portal based implementation, because most of our access points which are being deployed in the country right now doesn't support passpoint. So for open roaming to be able to be deployed in Indian network, there has to be passpoint compliant network being deployed. But thanks to indigenous ecosystem of many of the companies who are developing these access point in India and leveraging this telecom infra project open Wi-Fi SDK, which is pre-configured for passpoint. Now we are seeing many of the new deployment happening on passpoint. So there is a possibility as the deployment increases, open roaming adoption can be brought in. So, if you want to migrate this passpoint network to open roaming, to be able to deploy open roaming, you have to bring changes at many of the places, like the client devices already support passpoint, but you have to, update the access network to support passpoint. You also have to update your AAA server to support RADSec. You have to update your network to support DSCP, dynamic discovery. So those all changes you have to bring so that you will be able to support open roaming type of feature on the access point deployed in India. So, so I will quickly go to one architecture which we are trying to propose, that how PM WANI ecosystem will be able to smoothly integrate with open roaming to bring in all the benefit what open roaming brings. Because open roaming brings benefit of smooth integration with the MNO for the data offload, smooth integration with FIDO or IoT device ecosystem for bringing those devices in this particular network. But PM WANI framework has not evolved to that level. So it is always good to, adopt some of the best practices, standard practices which are already available in the network. And this is the one way through which you will be able to do. What you need to do is central registry to act as an ecosystem broker, get the ID from WBA, and then generate the sub ID and distribute that sub ID to these players like application provider, PDOA, PDO, and so that they will be distinctly identified in the network and able to communicate with each other and able to authenticate the end user. So this is the technical flow. I'll just skip it, that how exactly it will be realized in the network. And this also I will skip it. Maybe on a later stage we can discuss this. So I'll just want to acknowledge WBA APAC group. These are the project leaders through which I have taken most of the reference. And thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thanks, Sandeep. Hold on, we should take a few questions. Anybody has any questions to Sandeep? Please put up your hand. I do have some questions, Sandeep. What do you think about PM WANI seems to have gone into a little bit of a lull. Do you think there is a chance that somebody like you having the open roaming and PM WANI knowledge and seeing how to harmonize these two, do you think there is a possible revival? Do you think there could be an interest from government and other agencies?
So basically, this particular program is, it's a very important program, and we are seeing lots of discussion already initiated to fix what is broken, so that the ecosystem can grow. And at the same time, the good part is now Indian indigenous device ecosystem is also growing at the same rate. So I don't see any point that we cannot, fix these issues and deploy a large number of access point at public places. There are lots of interest going on right now.
Any questions? Yeah, get her a mic. Well, a quick question is, people have the perception that Wi-Fi should be free. This is not the model for PM Vani necessarily. Can you clarify?
So PM Vani model is market driven. That means these PDOs has to make a business out of it. And making the business, there is a mechanism of direct selling and then getting the money, which is very, very difficult looking at the pervasive 4G network what we have. And there are other mechanisms, government is looking at advertisement models and all. But what we are seeing is, if we are aware, TRAI has already come up with a tariff consultation where they are limiting the backhaul tariff for the PDO so that PDO business become viable. Okay. So we are seeing that the model will become sustainable after certain policies which will come into the place.
Yeah.
So how about like having evil captive portal attacks? Like how can you handle such attacks in a standard way? Like the captive portal have you mentioned in the earlier slides, right?
So whatever issues are associated with captive portal exist because the given model is based on captive portal underlying. That's why I think we are exploring that how to improve the security of this network, and that's where I think improving security means you have to go to 1x and EAP based authentication so that you have more security, and WPA2, WPA3. So that's why if you see the last point, if you see on the challenges, Wi-Fi hotspot being configured open to support captive portal based access, we need 8.2.1x based security, which is not available. So if you migrate to something like OpenRoaming, those all things comes underlying, which will help in the security.
So how about Passpoint adopting in India? Because we have seen globally like ATT or some other carrier networks will support these Passpoints, right?
So today, my understanding is none of even the operators are supporting Passpoint. So
like
we don't have Passpoint today.
Geo private net or
so
something like that.
Why
right?
I'm hopeful that Passpoint is going to be there in the Indian network, because our analysis shows that whatever network has been deployed is maybe I think 5 to 8 years old. Like you see Railtel or anyone, those systems now need an upgrade, right? And while they want to do the upgrade, Indian ecosystem, if you see the line here, 3 number, the Indian indigenous ecosystem has already got the capability to supply the access network, which are Passpoint compliant, OpenRoaming compliant, thanks to the TIP Open Wi-Fi SDK, which is being adopted by most of them, right? So if those networks will be deployed, then Passpoint network will grow, and as it will grow, the OpenRoaming adoption will become maybe reality going forward.
So more on the carriers, or you think the infrastructure has to be improved in it?
Yeah, not only carrier, anyone who is deploying Wi-Fi like this PDO, PDOA will be able to deploy Passpoint enabled network at the price point which is sustainable to them. Again, I'm telling thanks to the indigenous ecosystem, because now we have multiple entities providing these access point at a price point along with OpenRoaming and Passpoint enabled.
Got it.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks.